Our next question, and this is sort of a loaded question. I know I've got a strong opinion on this. What is more valuable, the roadmap or the road mapping process? Jason, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to say the road mapping process is much more valuable than the roadmap itself. I think for the organization, because they are all, if they can, people can get aligned on how they actually develop the kind of prioritization, identification, prioritization, positioning in order to get into the roadmap. That can be reproduced in other departments. Greg had mentioned marketing, HR, those kind of things. And I've seen even in my current organization, kind of product management processes in road mapping and thinking about how these things should prioritize out in other departments, which is fantastic because they don't have product managers. And so developing a nice repeatable process that is easy to understand can move into other areas. And I think if people understand what they're working on is the most important thing, and there's a vision in the future, then the actual artifact is a little less important, in my opinion, because you got to get there anyway.
Greg.
You already know my answer.
Yeah, talk me through it.
Yeah, when I already answered it before, I think that the process, and I completely agree with Jason, is that the process is really important. There isn't, when you talk about like HR or marketing, the process is not exactly the same as like product management, but being able to do that and thinking it out and having those principles in place, that's really important. That transforms so many of the different groups to going forward. In focus.
Yeah. So, that's where I was going to go. I agree. Right. This is sort of a loaded question. Some of the best thought leaders in business, Drucker, Roger Martin, they're all it's about planning. But if you want to put a lens on it, for me as a product manager, or product leader, or a strategy person, there's no question that the process is the most important thing, right? To the salesperson, to the individual person, customer, salesperson, marketing, even development, it's the artifact. They don't care as much about the process I went through as the artifact, which helps them. Maybe some of them do. They're holistic about it. And if you're doing it well, you're probably including some of them in.
Well, I was going to say that the sales guys are going to want to know, how can I influence your process?
And to me, what I recommend is people need an objective methodology for evaluating things, and as transparent as possible. So things can fall or rise in scoring on their merits. And that's sort of where you leverage the strategy to be an objective type thing. For me, though, it all comes back to the roadmap and strategy is about how do we focus limited resources, right? If we had all the resources in the world, why would you need a roadmap? We could just build everything at once, right? Well, nobody has all the resources in the world, and you need the process of going through. And for me, it's also the conversations, the conversations about Roger Martin flips it on, he talks about what would have to be true for this to be the right thing to do. And those conversations and the validation, to me, is an incredibly important part of what we do in the roadmap. And it helps us think. And Steve, I think, would say the same thing. I think we're aligned on this.